So let's take a minute. And what we're going to do is we're going to compare the 811As that are in this amplifier with a set of 572Bs. This is a long story that goes back to the beginning of time with radio. Penta has been kind enough to donate 4 572Bs for my shop inventory. That's them. They're currently running a special on the 572B. If you mention BBI at checkout, you're going to get a discount, obviously. But right now, they are running, how do I put this? They have the tube up for sale cheaper than anywhere else in the market right now. Period. Cheaper in RF parts, cheaper in everybody. At least in my opinion, from what I've seen on the internet. Then with the BBI promo code on checkout, it is by far the cheapest 572B on the market. Hands down. So what we have here is an Ameritron 811H with 811As in it. To really get these to perform, you've got to come up in plate voltage. You just do. But for the most part, these are a direct swap. So let's start here. On this first meter back here, this one here, is 1,000 watts in peak, and that's 1,000 in average. So we're taking our ICOM 7300, hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. We're putting about 85, 90 watts in this thing. Hello. We're getting 700 watts out. Now, let's go scroll down here, and we can all clearly see that's a 1,000 watt element. So we're seeing about 700 watts out. Now with this amplifier, if you watch the for sale video for this amp, you will very clearly see that this amp did 700 to 800 watts everywhere. Now what I have to do is I got to wait for the high voltage to bleed down. I got to ground everything out. I'm going to put a fan on it so I can put my hands on the tubes and let the tubes cool off. And then we're going to go ahead and we'll switch over to the Penta 572Bs. Okay, before we go any further, I just want to mention Penta's absolutely over-the-top packing job, and I totally appreciate it and recognize it. This is the box the tubes came in. All the boxes or all the tubes are at least double packed, from what I have seen. This is 2 inches of paper, bubble wrap top, bubble wrap on the bottom. These are the boxes for the tubes, and then they're individually wrapped in their own bubble wrap cells. Okay? Top of the line. Top of the line. So now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our voltmeter here, and we're going to make sure that we don't have any voltage present. 0. Now Ameritron's metering circuits are fairly reliable for the most part, but don't ever trust your life to just the meter. Once it's bled all the way down to 0, and you let it sit for 10 or 15 minutes, you can go ahead and ground out the top of the tubes with a screwdriver. Now most of the time, what will happen is, of course, you always want to start with the fact that you're unplugged, right? Most of the time, this interlock will not be bypassed. It's bypassed for video's sake. When that interlock pops open, it's going to take all the high voltage and short it to ground. But we always want to make sure. So with our 600 volt insulated screwdriver, we're going to go to the case first, then to the top of the tubes, and hold it here for a couple seconds. It's better than nothing. Once everything's cooled off, everything's set, you're going to very, very carefully remove the top of your tubes. When the tubes get old, the glass at the top of the tube, the anode tit, we'll use the 572B to be an example, this glass seal here on the top becomes delicate. I guess would be the best way to put it. So you're going to reach in here and very carefully, with very smooth pressure, rock this back and forth twist it side to side, back and forth with a little bit of up pressure. And bink, now you can take your tube out. Very carefully, even pressure, pull the tube out. Set it aside. Very, very carefully pulling this top off, because they will crack and they will break. These porcelain back caps is probably why Ameritron doesn't use them anymore, that and they got really expensive. These porcelain backed caps really put the bite on the top of the tube. Very carefully taking this out, very carefully taking this out, just like so. Okay. On older tubes like this, these have to come out anyhow because I'm going to ship this amplifier off. Somebody out there in the universe is going to buy it. Very careful. I'm telling you, on the older tubes, the top of the tubes will break like that. So be careful. And this Pyrex that the tube's made out of is about the sharpest shit in the world. So now we're going to reinstall our tubes. Don't be a schmutz and stick the tube in there and spin it around till it drops in a hole. Pay attention, there's 2 bigger pins, 2 small pins. We're going to look, we're going to see where the 2 bigger pins are oriented at, and we're going to slide these down in the hole, just like so. Slide these down in the hole, just like so. Just like that. And just like this. Sits firmly in the tube. Socket. 572B, last one. I wanted to show you how these are packed. Individual sleeves. We're going to save those. Okay. Last tube going in the hole. Oh, see? That was a schmutz. It didn't look. There we go. Tube's in. Now what we do is we take these anode caps, we fold them down so they don't make any contact with anything else inside the amp. Just like that. Then we reinstall the lid. So we're going to imagine that I put the lid back on the amplifier, put all the screws back in it, and we're going to do a quick little test. Turn the tube or plug the amp in. Now there's no high voltage that's going to get fed to the tubes. The high voltage on this amplifier instantly comes on as soon as you click the power button on. We don't know. These are unknown tubes. So what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to set it up so we can do an air bottle test. These things have been in shipping. They've been banged around a little bit. So before you install them in your amp, to prevent there being any kind of problem, we do this simple test. We install the tubes, make sure that the tubes aren't touching anything, the anode caps aren't touching anything, and now we're going to treat this as if this is alive because, well, it's going to be here in a second. We'd put the lid back on it, and then we're going to click on our power switch. Turn it on, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, 1010. Turn it back off. If any of these tubes have lost their vacuum for any reason in shipping, when you power this up, the tube on the inside, the filament, will disintegrate and it'll turn into a white acrid smoke, and it'll cover the inside of the tube with a white paste. It'll make it look like a friggin' light bulb from the filament burning the oxygen and then disintegrating itself. So now we wait. We wait for this to drop all the way down to 0. We unplug the tubes, or we unplug the amplifier. Unplugged. Now, this looks like it's almost at 0, right? But it's not. There's still 50-something volts on the tube, or on the top of the plate choke. So now we wait, and we wait, and we wait. We wait for this to get to absolute 0. Now you're going to sit back, relax, smoke a cigarette, have a coffee, go watch some dirty videos on TikTok. I don't know. Pick your flavor. I want to move these 811As so they don't get broken. I don't feel like buying any tubes for anybody. You're going to wait. Pop your lid off and see now we're almost at 0. 0.5, just 5 volts present still. 4. The bleeders will eventually pull this to 0. There's 3 volts. To the case, top the anodes, hold for a couple seconds. All right, so we're fully discharged. Now we can stick our hands in here and do things. Let's take our anode caps, very carefully reattach to the top of the tubes, slide down on until they make good, nice, solid contact. And then we go and we reinstall our lid. So now we're in the land of make-believe once again. We're installing the lid, we're putting all the screws in it. The lid's on, all the screws are in. And now we're going to turn our amp on. Everything looks good. Now there's a big debate in the ham amateur radio CB community about letting the tubes just sit here with high voltage on and let them burn in. No. Your burn-in process takes place when there's no high voltage present on the tubes. It's not so as important with the 3500Z, 3-500, 4-400, 4-1000, 811s, 572Bs. It's not that important. Your bigger ceramic tubes, your 3000s, your 1500s, that kind of thing, yes, you want to let those sit, marinate for several hours with no high voltage on the tubes whatsoever. The next step that you will take is standing on your foot pedal. Let's go take a look. I want to show you what we're looking at here. So we're going to look at our grid, and we're going to look at our plate voltage. When you step on the foot pedal, with no power going into the amp, or with you guys that have got the master control box, or you're utilizing your output auxiliary jack on your radios, your amateur amplifier radio, your amateur radios, go to sideband, simply step on the mic with no noise in the background, and watch your meters. See how that drops? See how it's climbing just a little bit? These are good signs. Now you know that the amplifier is good, and we're not going to have any arc over. We'd like to believe. So we've got the right amount of filament volts going to the right place. So now what we're going to do is we're going to run this up a little bit. Now remember, it was like hitting a brick wall at 700 watts. Hello. Same amount of power output. Radio, 100% power input. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Needless to say, there's your 1-to-1 comparison. That's simple. You're going to get roughly the same amount of power, but like 5 times the amount of life out of the tubes. The carbon graphite pack that's around the outside of the tube, remember the 811A came first, 572B came much later. It's in the same family, designed to go in the same socket. It was built for a military need, and so the tube got made a little bit more robust. It was given more material and a little bit more plate dissipation. It was designed to be used with a higher plate voltage, closer to 3000 volts. There's what, 2000 here present now? Yeah, 1600. A little bit closer to 3, like 2800 volts. These tubes will outperform all day long the 811As in all aspects of operation. Let's go over here to the radio. And let's take in, we'll dial this down to the very bottom of the 10 meter band. Let's see if we get any more out of it. Hello. Hello. Audio. Hello. Nope, this thing is definitely set up for 29 megahertz. Let's go to 29, let's say 600. Hello. 700 watts again. I have suggested for years that people run 572Bs in these things. It does not make the amp bulletproof. This is an older version of this amp. It was built in 1994. The whole parasitic setup on top of the tubes is completely different. Now they have a phenolic board with inductors on it and a whole bunch of garbage, and that board will actually melt down. Because guys get so confident with their 811s that have horrible airflow going through them, by the way. Now that they've changed to 572Bs, they'll melt that board down and burn it up. And they think that they're going to get a huge dramatic power and output. No. I said it in the last video, the 4 other videos with 811Hs in it, and I'm saying it now. I wanted to do a one-to-one comparison and show you, number one, first thing is that the old tubes are still at full output. And number two, the second thing I wanted to point out, believe it or not, is that there's no power difference. The 811As and the 572Bs are pretty close in price. If it was me, I'd put 572Bs in this thing and I'd get on with the show. Wouldn't worry too much about it. 811A, the weaker, older, not anywhere near as robust as the 572B. On that note, I want to say thank you, Penta Labs. I appreciate your continuing support. With honor and pride, I am the only Penta Labs product rep in the United States. They've got a lot of dealers. I'm not a dealer for Penta. I am just their product support. So gentlemen, on that note, I say thank you. Super shout out to the Patreons. Thanks to every single one of you guys out there. The results are what they are. A more robust tube that's designed to have a little bit higher plate voltage, not much, but a little bit, working at 1700 volts. I'll see you, gentlemen. I appreciate you tuning in and following along, giving some thumbs up and throwing a comment in the doobly-doo down below. My name is BBI, and I'll see you. Click, click.